Chapter 4, Designing Startup, Contents Introduction before the Pre-Definition of Conference, General Construction Costs and Scope, the Team Players, Pre-Definition Conference, General Protection, Team Players, Pre-Definition Conference, General Project Communication, Review the Functional Requirements, Rendering the Model of the Government Depth Issues, the Critical Need for the Date, Need for Project Phasing, Miscellaneous Conference, Action, Items 4, Product of the Pre-Definition Conference, Part 7, Updated Statement of Work and Pre-Design Schedule Estimate from Part 8, Requiring Management Requirements and Planning Management Plan, View of Requirements and Management Plan, A&E, 9, A&E Proposal Review, 10, Pre-Business Clearance Memo, 11, A&E Fee Negotiation, 12, Contract Award and Notice Proceed. Chapter 4, Designing. The U.S. Headquarters of the U.S. Air Force Engineering Corps issues the planning of the instruction major command of the issue of the field design instruction authorizing the design agent to process the seed the design of the following stage based on the project validated required milestone congressional approval. Planning instruction issued with the parameters of the major com issued the field instruction to set the design parameters. Planning instruction issued with the Title 10 U.S. Senate Code 2807 notification action required 2%. 2807 notification completed if required architectural engineering contract award 3%. Project definition completed and approval 15% early preliminary design subject submittal if required 30% preliminary design submittal with if required 60% pre-final design submittal 90% corrected final design submittal 100% ready to archive or ready to advertise submittal. If the design authority is changed for the initiating of the design, Air Force program manager must determine whether it is the best interest of the government to complete the design. Next submittal point to stop the design immediately. Air Force program manager should work closely with the major com and if the different organization to get the design authority changed if necessary. 1. Introduction. Designing excellence requires the integration of the quality architectural design throughout all the engineering disciplines. Quality design, professional and professional management. Designing effort is provided with all the levels of Air Force design construction process. Successful design enhances the Air Force mission of assuring the functionality, efficiency, economy, meeting the U.S. users' need and exemption. Such design aspects of the base environmental compatibility, existing architectural character. Such successful designs conveyed with a positive image contributed with the quality of the base as a whole community. Sustaining the design material growth more critical each year. Completeness, timeliness, professional presentation, submittals should be stressed. Air Force publication, promotion, design excellence are available in the headquarters AS Air Force, CAE, Brooks, AF Mill, DC Products, achieving the design excellent Air Force design and award brochure to emphasize excellence at Air Architecture and Engineering. See the Appendix 3, Appendix 33, U.S. Air Force Design and Award Program for the detailed U.S. Air Force Design Award Program. Before the pre-definition conference, the Air Force program manager should analyze the user requirements relationship with the requirements programmed amount show on the Department of Defense Form 1391 Air Force Pyramid Cost Engineering System or PACE, other than an acceptable system of the confirming the budget of the being alerting with requirement affecting the cost that may have not adequately considered the Department of Defense Form 1391. Be prepared to discuss these users representative of the conference Air Force meeting with the meeting between the user and base civil engineer, Major Com Air Force program manager and for the pre-definition conference, settle the criteria issues to correct the issues, the requirements, and management plan. It is important to the Air Force to represent the unified position of the pre-definition conference. Government and government personnel, project personnel should review all the project scope, contractor issues, resolve any of the differences between the conference. B. Construction cost and scope. See Chapter 9 with the special non-appropriated funds requirements of fee programmed amount and the constructional cost limits of scope and site. Without these, design cannot start. The U.S. headquarters of the Air Force Engineering Corps, the program instruction and planning instruction, subsequent design instruction, major com, the field design instruction establishes authorized cost target of design, but the project major com establishes the initial scope of the use of the Office of Secretary of Defense, primary facility and unit cost data, Air Force pricing, gauge, parametric cost estimate, and other acceptable methods to establish the program plan agenda, or PA. Cost target, the major com, the change of the scope of cost of the target major field with the field design instruction up to the time of the project with the planning with the headquarters of the Air Force and the responsible the annual military construction call letter, the headquarters of the Air Force, the engineering change of the program, the project scope, the planning agenda, authority during the Milcon review approval of the process submit with the Office of Secretary of Defense and the President's budget. Heroes program manager of the job ensures the receipt of the parametric cost estimate during the project definition that most accurately reflects the project subsystem selected in the project definition. The project scope of the current work estimate or the CWE during the design process vary scope of the program agenda program authority established for the headquarters U.S. Air Force Engineering Corps and subsequent the design instruction the magnitude of these variations may impact the requirements or approval of the higher authority. See Table 4.1. Approval of authority scope and decrease interest rate scope of the decrease greater than 25% of the authorized scope. Congress scope of the decrease of the then equal to 25% lesser than equal to 25% authorized military. Major com stop increase no greater than 10% authorized scope. Major com scope increase greater than 10% but no greater than 25% authorized. Headquarters U.S. Air Force Engineering Corps scope increase greater than 25% authorized scope. Congress scope increases the decrease greater than 25% authorized scope requires the congressional notification prior to the award. The construction contract notification is considered complete after 30 days to no advisory comments are received by from Congress. The Air Force Instruction 32-1023, Chapter 5, the Air Force Program and Engine Design Agent must completely close the monitoring current working as estimate during the design process. The current working estimate exceeds the program amount with the or the PA. The project scope. The requirements must be resolved with reduce the construction working estimate from the programmed amount, and the additive bid items must be identified early in the design process. Chapter 5 or 7. Chapter 5.7 control the scope of changes during design, and if the basic current work estimate is greater than the programmed amount, this will also affect the authority advertising the authority of the award of construction contracting. See Chapter 6 of construction contracting advisory advertising an award for further information. The contents of both the pre-definition conference, the project in general, with the following summary is typical responsibility of the general team design. The pre-definition conference is chaired by the Air Force Program Manager, the intent with the DA, project manager, DA, the contracting officer, U.S. representative, Major Com representative, the contracting officer, A&E representative, the basic base core engineering, depending on the project with the scope of the complexity of the base support representative, project manager, project programmer, community built and planner, fire department representative, environmental health flight representative, bioenvironmental representative, communications squadron representative, security force squadron representative, safety organization, safety officer, base and major com interior or designer. The Air Force program manager's job is to make these representatives understand the requirements and the management plan with the statement of work for the before its conference is over. The team members of every project with the general members of the following with the four categories: the core team, the base support team, the outside agency, the decision maker. The members of the core team usually include the Air Force program manager for the user, the future occupant, the A&E contracting officer, the design agent, the major com, if different from the Air Force program manager or host command, if different with requiring major com, the base and the base civil engineers with the control of the real estate infrastructure, any contractor of it activity of the base. See Chapter 9 for the unique non-appropriated fund requirements. Design team for every military construction project broadly includes individuals from the user through the design agent organization of the architecture and engineering that are consult with in order to facilitate communication while managed design team and efforts individually known as the program manager, project officer, program engineer, the architecture, project coordinators, community planners, point of contact typically assigned to the project various organizations that which they work through. The management and actions managers, engineering contacts determine the success of the failure of the military construction. For the reason guide will refer to these project managers, and engineer contacts the design team. See Table 4.2. So design team role members usually the organization represents the organization commander. Each of the section using the organization who's and why involved provides specific requirements and might understand the facility enhancing the mission capabilities. Design team roles: basic civil engineer, the base civil engineer, base engineer community, and the base level. The various base agencies were not design team members. Man can do the information between the user design first critical line link of the design review page, utility bills, final and facility product maintains, repaired and renewed facility for the man hours, materials, and code enforcement for the all construction environmental compliance, maintains sense for the community on the base. Major com, the major command, civil engineer, the various major com level, the function program, design and construction, review the functional adequacy, remove the requirements and plan of the VE studies, allocates the manpower with the command with each of the base under the jurisdiction, allocates the operation and maintenance fund with the command with each of the base under the jurisdiction, each of the command, wide design construction policies regarded with the sense of the community controls design funding. Design manager, a member, the representation, the Air Force Civil Engineer Headquarters, U.S. Army Air Force, or why the organization identifies the U.S. Air Force and civil engineering, overall project management, oversee the agent. The Air Force is responsible to Congress of the section of the mill construction project. The design manager responds to the limitations leveled by Congress. The design agent, the Office of the Corps Engineering, Naval Facility Engineering Command of the Division District Engineer agencies appointed with the administrative design contract, provide the technical project services, design and architecture and engineering within the House, serve as the organizational chief principal agency appointed, selected, to produce the documents necessary for the board consider construction contracts. The organization represented by the design team, typically those directly responsible for the direct impact with the project. They usually team member, the user, the base civil engineers, Major Com, Air Force program manager, the design agent, and the architect and engineer with the design agent and housing staff. Military construction projects involved with the multiple user in common do they have the senior base staff and involved with the coordinated, negotiated, resolve with the conflict with the user and base level organization with the communication server, the Tempest office, the local area network manager, the closed circuit TV or system manager, environmental health, security police with the fire department, be brought in the design team member, the advisor of the team, depending on involving the scope of the project. When the resident construction management include the construction management plan, design overall the project management plan should be prepared with the show of the organization involved with the specific responsibility and authorities proposed by the project management program to communicate with players and other roles and costs and schedules and quantity in the construction management plan, critical and complex critical passage projects. 4. Pre-definition conference. The contracting officer provided the air architecture and engineering request for proposal for at least 1 week prior to the pre-definition conference. The pre-definition conference, also known as the critical review conference of the pre-negotiation conference, represents the initiation of the actual design effort. The purpose of the pre-definition conference is to establish design requirements for the A&E and so forth. There is a determine that understand the project with the architecture and engineer can make the responsible free proposal. Key process for the pre-definition conference is a clear exchange of the product requirements between the A&E, the government, the conference was held with the base, and often the user facilities closed with the project introduced. The attendees explained with the role, remembered how the daunting Air Force organization could solve the newcomers. A good checklist of the item of the meeting of the Appendix 34, pre-definition, pre-negotiation conference checklist, Appendix 35, pre-definition conference, special consideration. Provide a list of special design considerations should be taken into account. Air Force program manager chaired the conference and set the tone direction for the rest of the project, the preparation, effectiveness, preparation, presentation critical, establishing the desired tone and project direction. Ensure the right people at the conference would make the input the decision, but discourage anyone with the intending of the out with the courtesy, properly, and educational purposes. It is absolutely essential for the user and president understanding the importance of this conference. Make sure the user is comfortable with the access, asking question, understand, but the answer. Remember, the user may not be an engineer and architect. The good pre-definition will be yielded negotiation project communication. The normal routing of the conveying the user's requirements. The architectural engineer follows the formal lines with the communication. Air Force project manager shall establish informal lines with the communication pre-definition conference to facilitate effective transfer of information. Information regarding the government furnished equipment connections may also be transferred informally, especially information of voluminous and understand under such short suspense. Take care to ensure the formal record of the made with the such informal information transformation provided with the copies of the telephone number, the transmittal letters to the design agent, but the Air Force program manager ensures everyone understands the transferred information must not include new requirements outside the parameters identified with the pre-definition conference. The typical information informal communication line would be established by the architecture engineer with a base civil engineering project representative. Sketch for the project with the organization chart, set the rules of the file, but the communication who calls and whom gets copied on information, how many copies the architectural engineering submittal to go, and so forth, and make sure everyone understands other roles and responsibilities. See the tenant schedule for successful architectural engineering contract negotiation by the DA. Be careful of the architectural engineering statement. Be clear on the architectural engineering statement of working level of the effort before record during the project deployment phase. Alright, C. Reviewing functional requirements. The user validated, explain with the project functional requirements. The contracting officer, the architectural engineer, understand the administrative issues, scope of the contract. The basic civil engineer staff provides local requirements, maintenance, design, capability, criteria, and other issues. The architectural engineer expected to lead the charter to provide with the definition and requirements, and an architectural engineer not with the charter before the engineering architectural and consult with the chart and experience. Rendering models, color rendering scale to the project to be the greatest assistance, help the user senior leadership understanding the proper design and decision obtained that the rendering model must be made with no later than the pre-definition conference, ensuring the rendering the required with a single line, but showing the three-dimensional aspects of the project provided with the upon approval of the project definition to submittal. The line perspective may illustrate the main architecture features of the building and show the views plan with the final color rendering. The architectural and engineering should submit the example of the proposed the rendering of the Air Force program management approval before the final rendering is executed. The final color rendering should encompass the pre-final design and submittal with the 90% showing the value of the building and their approval earlier. The final color rendering should be illustrate the colors and texture shape of the final design. In some cases, the scale model only will adequately address the complexity of the proposed facility, making the decision model no more than a pre-definition conference. The Air Force Exchange should example the proposed style of the Air Force program manager approval of the final mode with the executed air architecture and engineer should be provided with the programmed project definition and the submittal of the use of the project definition briefing. Make sure that the DA and the architectural engineering understand the rendering of the model. The original slide will be turned to the Air Force program manager for the distribution of Air Force. E. The cover in depth. As ensure the architectural engineer or other representatives have the opportunity to ask all the questions they need to ask. As the failure of the architectural engineer, the questions to other means, but they have not been removed. The requirements and management plan be prepared to draw out the question of the Air Force architectural engineer from the user necessary to discuss every paragraph just important to the points for the common notice understanding. Verify the critical project clearly identified critical reference both general and specific topic. The Air Force PAM 32109 the single standard PAM specific criteria of the Military Handbook 1191 Medical Military Construction Program Facilities Design Construction Criteria of the take the proceedings over the critical general criteria. Clear downside, spend adequate time discussing special consideration. A list of such items provided with the Appendix 35 pre-definition conference with specials handling accessibility engineering monitoring the control system. EMCS, adequate existing utilities should be discussed in all the projects of the basic core engineering. Has been responsibly verify the adequacy of utilities of the site. Any off-site utility improvement to be included with the Department of Defense 1391. F. Critical needs for the dates and identify the critical needs associated with the project as soon as possible, since the dates may be impact the design requirements, the construction schedule, the critical needs of the data steps. The major comment the user last date of the facility can be turned over to the user occupancy without adverse mission impacts. The dates may deliver any new change mission that may do the establish the delivery of the specialized equipment integral with the facility and critical mission. G. Project phasing. The phasing is required to include the project strategy, the program management plan, note costs, the schedule impacts, discuss the possibilities of the strategies that can be considered by the architectural engineers. Constructional phasing necessary for the same project reason may be demolition, asbestos removal to prevent innovation, critical need, the justified requirement when the phase is not required to note the cost that should impact the discuss the possible strategy that consider with the architectural engineer. Complex construction phasing will require at least one consideration, meaning special addressing and subject. Sure the phasing plan with the is coordinated with the complete understanding with the use of the milestone dates and included with the construction contracting requirements. See Chapter 9 for the special time for the non-appropriately funded projects. H. Miscellaneous. Treble funded limitation, not always face-to-face meeting with the architectural engineer. Notice to proceed before the gathering process begins. Review the process of the required product of the data gathering phase. For the simplest or the most straightforward project, most of the data gathering to be done by the pre-definition conference held by the architectural engineer. Much information as possible. The little information is stowed in the architectural engineer definition responsible for securing it. Review the diagram and drawing specifically definitely general again is to identify the architectural engineer functional technical aesthetics with critical fixed flexibility. The conference should be concluded only when the participates under what is to be done and when and by whom, but in much cases the conference occurs between the negotiations, assuring that the architectural engineer has a complete understanding of the scope. The DA should provide with the minutes of the participation with the 7 working days following the conference. At the conclusion of the conference is a normal visit with the project site with the user current facilities based for the cornerstone facilities. 5. Conferencing action items. Architectural engineers represent their own minutes to collect all the data necessary to provide the fees proposal. Air Force programming is a predefined conference quarterly meetings minutes should be signed with all parties maintained with the official contractor folder. The Air Force program manager should coordinate all the meetings with writing with the contractor officers at the agenda and schedule. Use the checklist ensure the cover of all the topics. All representative of the base support organization, communications, environmental, fire department to give it input earlier in the meeting agenda. The Air Force program manager should seek the involvement of the highest level of the possible use of the base core engineering organization promote the top of the understanding of the project. The primary purpose of the pre-definition conference is to ensure every one of the architectural engineer understand the project and all the information necessary to prepare the fee proposal given the architectural engineer, the transform it, perform the proposal of the architectural engineer, respond to the manner to facilitate the comparison of the independent government estimates given the following the architectural engineer as built with the site plans, maps, so utilities, topographical, soils, information, fire protection requirements similar to design, building design documentation, computer assisted drafting, design requirements, and EMC data, etc. Discuss any of the basic clearances to access the requirements of the architectural engineering personnel, establish the parameters, permit clearance schedules for the soil borings, and the other A&E activities. Environmental planning requirement must be handled with a contingency with a timely manner as the pre-definition conference discussed in non-environmental surrounding of the project of DA and the architectural engineering is required of the architectural engineer of the review of the current government environmental regulations, talk about the base environmental office, determine the environmental impacts of the proposed project, require the architectural engineering and all environmental construction permit requirements as part of the project definition. Air Force ILEC policy with the environmental impact analysis process must be initiated in the ideal completed with the department before the Department of Defense Form 1391 submitted by the Air Force ILEC. The optimum situation with the environmental impact analysis process should be completed with the start of the project definition phase. The Air Force policy also that is the major comment cannot be advertised with the Milcon project for the Air Force environmental impact analysis project completed. Air Force project ensures the Air Force program manager must ensure that it has been taken seriously for the requirements of the following Air Force instruction prior to the pre-definition construction. Air Force Instruction 32-1021 planning of the programming facility construction project states that major comments responsible in issuing the environmental impact analysis process. Chapter 2 provides a detailed listing of the planning action environmental permits that must be obtained by the base. The Air Force Instruction 32-7061 the environmental impact analysis process describes most of it to be done with the host. The command prepares the environmental documentation and directs the host base to do so. The Air Force instruction also states the contract of the engineering environmental impact analysis process or the efforts must be proponent of the major common responsibilities. Air Force Manual 32-10138 military construction planning of the program manual also describes critical planning and action environmental permits that must be obtained with the base and the required product check the list of the updated and modified handoff the architectural engineering required products request the contracting officer engineering architectural engineering provide with the government a copy of the meeting of the man and for the feedback of the plan definition tutor software for the more detailed pre-definition conference. 6. Product of the pre-definition conference. The following the items, the major topics that need to be addressed for the conference, although not every topic is every the project with the table 433 publication conference. The product checklist identifies additional topics in the issue that modified with the required and management plan, architectural engineering, GA, Air Force project team. The members need to reach an agreement with the meeting the requirements of management plan if the modifications are required for these documentation and minutes of the meetings. Type of the team, the directory review and establish the current team of the directory, including the function title, address, telephone, fax numbers, email address for each of the number of the validated statement of work, copy and distributed, make of the statement of work of the engineering, architectural engineering, day included the draft schedule with all the tasks, includes the program definition phase, actions, items, create a list of the information required during the data collection preparation of the charties, emphasize the due date and personal responsibility for each of the actions, general plan with the plan of design guidance of the Air Force architectural engineer available criteria such as the installation standard of the architectural compatibility guidelines, the BCP components of the reference drawings, the assistant teams, and studies of the identified unavailable information for the activity item list, the environmental concerns, create item marker of the environmental permitting checklist, example the architectural engineering with known yet not known environmental issues of the project, and follow the points of the contact for the base environmental issues. Utility drawings as built, give the architectural engineer a permanent base site utility plan as built with the existing facilities that will be effective with the new project approval process, documentation, decision-making approval process for the various project issues, budget, scope, function, aesthetics, etc. Budget assumptions given the architectural engineering all backup the data supported by the Department of Defense 1391 budget, the special design construction given the A&E requirements of the special design consideration project that might be fully explained with the requirements of management plan. These include the EMP and the Tempest, shielding, heating, recovering, standing by, and power environmental requirements, etc. Site photographs. Architectural engineers should take photographs during the site visit, keep the site and plan for the future references. Pre-definition conference checklist, the requirements, documentation, project planning, project management team directory, validated statement of work, milestone, schedule, action items dated with an answer are due. BCP or design guidelines, list of the environmental issues, utility drawing, as-built, approval of the process, diagram, budget, assumption, backup data, list of special design consideration, site photographs, value, engineering study requirements, determine the value, engineering with study will be required, and architectural engineering proposal format, contracting officer minute, the pre-definition conference. And sample E, fee for proposal compiling the independent government estimate requirements of the phase project working, which could impact the architectural engineering fees. See Chapter 9 for the non-appropriated funding requirements. 7. Updated the statement of the project design and estimate. Added the pre-definition conference. Air Force Program Manager will update the statement of work detailed with the independent government estimate incorporated with the relevant modification of the planning management plan. Preparation management plan for those projects that require instructional interior design, comprehensive interior design services. These Air Force interior design guides are AFCEE Brooks at AFM Mill under the product services. These formats are modified with the individual project contracting officer, Air Force Management Program inputs, confirms funding of the accuracy, the base core engineering staff reviews comments that are revised with the statement of work schedule. The users coordinate with the base corps engineering reply, and the Air Force Program Manager manages changes the statement of the work pre-design schedule during the pre-definition conference. The Air Force Program Manager must send the revised statement of work with the contracting officer. Transmittal selected by the Air Force architectural engineering for the price clearly identify all the changes with the revised with the statement of work. Remember that the revised statement of work must be still within the intent of the statement of work, but described in the published Commerce Business Daily synopsis of the scope of the budget reflected with approved Department of Defense 1391. If this is true, the Air Force architectural engineering should proceed in preparing the fee of the proposal based upon the agreement's clarification made during the pre-definition conference. Resolve the budget goal, open conflicts with the independent government estimate that reflects the changes discussed in the pre-definition conference, and clearly identify the changes revised independent government estimate. Clearly indicate the direct design cost as percentage of the estimated construction costs. Products revised statement of work, project design schedule of the contracting officer to transmittal with the architectural engineering revised independent government estimate. 8. Requirements of management plan. The review of the requirements management plan. The design starts with the delayed pending with the resolution of the conflict between the headquarters of the U.S. Air Force, ILCP, and program and instruction of design instruction major field and design instruction requirements management plan. Air Force program manager is confident that all these conflicts are going to be resolved and press on the review of the required and management plan with the responsible clarification of all the questions of the architectural engineering user assigning actions or the appropriate officer's primary responsibility or the OPR for the identifying of the response for the date of the architectural engineering clarification not possible, but the conference review the discussion of the request and management plan should be between the BCP base facility standard guidelines you need for the continued condition of the base at the site with the change with the requesting and management plan modification of the architectural engineering statement of work for the project requires the government only meeting with the architectural engineering leaving the room. The architectural engineering making the fee proposal and be able to scope. Therefore, it must be a fair and project. They are using the requirement and management plan as a guide. Use the validated, explain what the project functional requirements the contracting officer makes, and make sure the architectural engineering understand the contract administrative issue scope of the base core engineering stuff provided with local requirements, maintenance, design capability, compatibility criteria. 19. A&E architectural engineering proposal. Review the contract to receive the architectural engineering proposal provided with the Air Force program manager may have the architectural engineering supplied with a copy directly to each of the party of the Air Force program manager for the contracting officer to review the Air Force the architectural engineering price proposal. The contracting officer may request the Defense Contracting Audit Agency to audit the fee proposal up to $500,000 greater than Federal Acquisition 15403 for architectural engineering firm has not been audited within the past 12 months. The Federal Acquisition Regulation 15404.2. The audit normally takes 45 to 60 days to review the architectural engineering general administrative overhead costs, salaries, rates, and not audited with the architectural engineering estimated man hours during the outwork. The Air Force Program Manager to confirm the architectural engineering price proposal formatted with the same of the independent government estimate requires the accomplishment and providing with a clear guidance for the architectural engineer during the pre-definition conference. The first proposal consideration independent government estimate holding the fact-finding session with the architectural engineer clarifying the statement of the work requesting the revised proposal with the proposal analyst. The audit with their initiated with the revised proposal. Air Force Program Manager provides the technical review, the architectural and proposal provided with the contracting officer. The Air Force Program should check with the contracting officer prior prior to performing the technical evaluation, determining the level of the data required for C, the Air Force Program Manager, Architectural Engineering Technical Evaluation, C, the Appendix 36, Architectural and Proposal Technical Evaluation. X pre-business clearance. The contracting officer prepares the pre-business clearance memo, sometimes before the pre-negotiation object. The purpose of the pre-business clearance memo is to establish the government position of the proposed submitted by the architectural engineering. The Air Force program is that the contractor should establish the position of each line of the out of the fee proposal. They establish the contracting officer administrative limited authority to negotiate the fees. The limits of the contracting officer is published in policy and established with the contracting committee. The architectural engineering fee proposal independent government limits with authority for the project type or other part with the Air Force program should suggest either having a contract officer administrative limits raised, having some of the authority to exceed the limits attended with no negotiation and include the contractual committee member of the architectural engineering government fact-finding meeting that they can understand large discrepancies exist with getting that change if needed, if required. 11. Architectural engineering fee negotiation. Air Force program may serve as a contracting officer, technical work with or COTR. Contracting officer representative is in the situation where the Air Force program may serve as a part of the staff and set with an authority negotiations, but some of the contracting officer should only be exercised in the presence of the prior approval of the contracting officer. The contracting officer, technical representative of the Air Force program manager, thoroughly be discussed and documented prior to the beginning of the architectural engineering negotiations. The contracting officer organizes and schedules the negotiation sessions to negotiate the contract. The contracting officer is authorized to negotiate the contract while obligated with the government. The architectural engineer firmly designed the project and with the designated with the company office to negotiate with the contractor to obligate the firm. The Air Force program manager will confirm the project statement of the work schedule with the architectural engineer and obtain the agreement for the project scope, the delivery schedule. The contracting officer keeps the required all decisions agreements before the negotiation. Contracting officer designated representative with the negotiating difference between the independent government estimate and the architectural engineering proposal. The contracting officer will designate the Air Force program manager to perform the function, but the contracting officer shall mediate the negotiations. If the agreement cannot be reached with the top of the rank firm, the contracting officer shall be the written best final offer from the architectural engineer. This must be done formally, but the contracting officer should be done expeditiously to allow the proceeding with the second rank firm. The negotiation top rank firm terminated being a decision with the second ranked firm conducting the pre-definition conference filed with the issuance of the request for proposal. The contracting officer in charge of the negotiation process discusses all issues strategy with the contracting officer away from the negotiation table. Contracting officer discussed and agreed with the clarification assumption listed with the architectural engineering proposal. Initial negotiations to focus on the major command of the disagreement. The agreements with general comments for the order of magnitude differences. The contracting officer should allow the architectural engineer sufficient time to consider comments and revenue negotiations in detail. The item discussion remain with the difference. Review the drawing requirements typical with a good place to start with an agreement with the drawing will have direct impact for the total man hours. The contracting officer negotiates the difference with the contents agreement with the reach with the Air Force program manager informal memo. Conference the negotiation with the contracting officer, particularly with the scope modified. The memo should state with the Air Force program management and negotiation final agreement with the Appendix 59 memo with the concurrence for the architectural engineering negotiations. The Air Force program manager contracting officer must be remember the Air Force fees of the preparation of the design, planning, drawing, specification, military construction project limited to 6% of the project estimated cost construction. Other architectural engineerings are not subject to 6% limitation. See FARS 236.606.70 for the further information. If the total cost of the architectural engineering services is expected to exclude $500,000 congressional notification is required with Title 10 U.S. Standard Code 2807 that must be completed with the prior publishing of the Commerce Business Day synopsis starting design. See chapter before design starts and additional information. At the conclusion of the negotiations, the Air Force program management indicates the funds requested for the updates for the independent government estimate other than project contract. The documentation affected with the negotiation is required in the session of the handshake of some other positive symbol of the agreement between the government and the architectural engineering negotiation team. 12. The contracting award notice for the proceed. The contracting officer obligates the government and the architectural engineer to sign the contract. The architectural engineer signs the contract, including the comment to provide project design with the required time of the fees negotiated. Execution of the contract requires the architectural engineer and contract officer signatures. Only contracting officer authorizes the architectural engineering beginning of the work. The architectural engineering signs final version of the contract. The contract officer signs the contract with the architectural engineer and issues the notice to proceed. Architectural engineer knows the notice to proceed. Acknowledges the notice to proceed after the contract is signed. Circumstances to prevent the contracting officer from issuing the notice to proceed. Suggests the notice to proceed be issued and contract awarded, notifying the architectural engineering by phone number or fax. Chapter 5, Project Contract Document Development. It's pretty long. It's 26 pages.